to the blue area of the moon, an area that for some reason you can breathe without a spacesuit. She nearly kills everyone around her just by yelling stop, while Tony Stark builds a magical transformer to attack the Phoenix.
There you go. Marvel's out of ideas. There's only one scene with the gun. No one actually gets shot. Rebooted into a more grimy character with the New 52. So in this comic pal, I wanted to talk about Sandman #1. Now, this issue came out in 1989, so it's kind of a little late to be coming to it for the first time. But you know, back then I wasn't reading comics, and even if I was, it's definitely wouldn't have been something that I would have read or would have enjoyed or understood. And I'd seen it in the store a few times in trade form, and you know, it seemed interesting, but I never really saw a reason to pick it up. But eventually, I read some of Neil Gaiman's other work. I read his team up with Terry Pratchett, Good Omens. I enjoyed the movie Coraline, and you know, Sandman is one of those classics like Watchmen or The Dark Knight Returns that, you know, everyone's supposed to see. You know, it's kind of like the Citizen's Kane or the Scarface of comic books. And finally, you know, a new story is coming out. You know, they announced a few months ago that you know, there had been one more story that Neil thought about telling, and just didn't tell back, you know, when he first made this. So I figured, well, why not go ahead and take a look at the original? And especially with Comixology, I'm able to just buy that first issue. It was on sale for 99 cents. They were having a DC and Vertigo #1 99-cent sale. So I said, all right, for $1, I can check anything out. And so I decided to go ahead and start reading through Sandman. This first issue is an oversized issue. It's about twice as large as the issue #2, according to Comixology, which is pretty interesting because not that much actually happens in this issue, and I think that's pretty interesting that Neil Gaiman takes an issue that's twice as long as the usual issue, and yet doesn't really have anything happen in this issue. And what I mean by that is, and I'm going to spoil this because, you know, it came out back in '89, so if you still haven't read it like me, this is your first time, just go ahead and go read it and come back. This wizard around the time of World War I, and by wizard, it's just basically just a normal dude, not someone in a, you know, wizard hat or whatever, but who happens to know magic, and he wants to capture Death in a sacred circle, which means that Death would have to do whatever he says. When he does the spell, he captures someone else that's not Death, and he binds him in this circle. The captivity is kind of represented as a bubble around this guy, and eventually it turns out that it's they figure out, or they surmise that it's probably Morpheus, the King of Dreams. So they keep him in there because they want him to do their bidding, and they taunt him, and when I say they, I mean this wizard and his son, and they try to get him to do stuff, but he's resolute, and he just sits there and does nothing. So basically, the comic book is showing, first of all, this guy, as the decades pass, he comes in once a decade and asks Morpheus for something, and Morpheus just sits there and does not respond. And on the other hand, it's showing what's happening around the world because Morpheus is not around to interact with people's dreams. And so, for the most part, there's not really a lot happening from the sense of a Sandman book. You know, he's sitting there. You don't even get to see him until, I'd say, about halfway through, more or less. And you're just seeing this man who's aging and aging and aging, and then eventually he dies, and his son again is aging and aging and aging, and trying to get Morpheus to do his bidding. And it's not until really, really near the end of the issue where Morpheus finally is able to escape, and kind of gains some of his powers back, and he's able to enact a really awesome revenge on the son of the guy who bound him. I think it's perfect in that it's so scary and gruesome, and basically this guy is in a loop where he's constantly waking up from dreams. Every time he thinks he's woken up, he's still in a dream. And I thought that was a pretty awesome revenge for the god of dreams to mete out to him. But yeah, so I can only imagine in '89 you're reading through this book, and surely something's going to happen at some point. Someone's going to come looking for Morpheus, or something's going to happen, and nothing till the last few pages of the book, and then it kind of leaves off with him saying, all right, now I'm going to go, back to my kingdom. And so it really leaves the book open. I have no idea if I'm going to enjoy this series just having read this first book. I think, Neil Gaiman's writing is spot on in this book, and I've enjoyed his writing before, but as far as the story he's going to tell, I have no idea. It looks like one of those books where it's definitely going to take at least the second issue, if not the third issue, to really get a feel for where Neil's going with this story. What kind of story is he telling? What does he want to do with this Morpheus character now that he's free? And the interesting thing is, there's been 3 decades of people not having dreams, and certain people that were alive at the time kind of got messed up, and it focuses on those people, but I'm not sure if Neil's going to do anything else with them, or he was just choosing these people to show, hey, this is what's happening for 30 years because there's no dreams. One very interesting thing is when the Morpheus is finally revealed, because for a long part of the comic you see what Morpheus sees. You're not seeing Morpheus himself. I thought, wow, that's really interesting. Did the artist purposely draw Morpheus to look like Neil Gaiman? Because that'd be really funny, because in The Incredibles, the animators, as a joke, they drew the enemy to look like the director Brad Bird, and he didn't figure it out until the movie was way too far in production. And so, the villain of that book is a caricature of him. So I thought, oh, how interesting that this guy would make a caricature of Neil Gaiman be the main character of the book that Neil's writing. So I actually asked him on Twitter, did the artist purposely draw Morpheus to look like you? And he said, no, actually, the guy had never seen him or a picture of him at the time that he was written. And I thought that was really interesting. Also pretty cool that Twitter was able to find that out from Neil. And at first I thought, oh, maybe I'm just crazy that I thought they looked the same, but I got a bit of vindication. There were a lot of other people on Twitter who were thinking the same thing as me, and they were very confused, and all this time they had always assumed that they had purposely drawn Morpheus to look like Neil Gaiman. So I think that overall I really, really enjoy this issue. I think it actually serves really well as like a horror issue, like from what the backdrop is, what happens ultimately to the people that have bound Morpheus, the sense of hopelessness. I think it's a very interesting first issue, and I'm really looking forward to reading the second one. And I hope that once I do, it'll turn out that I really enjoy the series, and I'll keep buying it. So look forward to my review of issue number 2.